What's the first most important decision made in a Pokemon game? Most people think it is your starter choice, but actually it is the classic question of are you a boy or are you a girl? For most players, this question means nothing, but for speedrunners, this decision could be the difference between a few seconds of time save and whether or not you even finish a run. So why do a lot of speedrunners play as the girl? Let's talk about it. 6 of the games that belong in this section have no actual difference between playing as the boy or the girl. In fact, 2 of these games you could consider to be suboptimal to play as the girl. This is because in every game, the cursor will always default to the boy, or in more modern games, boy 1. So picking anything else is technically speaking a very minor time loss. And while both Fire Red and Leaf Green and the Let's Go games are like this when it's technically suboptimal, not every game is like this. In most Pokemon games, the timer begins when you press New Game. Then after mashing through some text, the game then asks the infamous question. But in Sword and Shield, the game allows you to pick between boy and girl before pressing New Game. So no time loss there. Pokemon Scarlet is similar to Sword in this regard. Because the game uses first movement for its timing method, meaning the timer only starts when you gain full control of your character, picking between boy and girl, as well as customizing your character, isn't time loss. But the funniest games that belong here are the Unova games of Black, White and its sequels. You would think that the little animation of going from boy to girl would be a waste of time. And it is, but speedrunners mash through the intro so fast that the game still requires time to create the save data. Speedrunners kinda have to wait anyway, so they can pick whatever they want. So most of these runners here pick the girl mainly because of personal preference. After all, if you have to look at this outfit for the next 4 hours, or this outfit, you'll probably go with this one. Also in this game, the menus are pink when you play as the girl. That's good enough for me! What happens when the decision between playing the boy or playing the girl actually matters? Well... So you want to know the stupid reason why the girl is played over the boy in Pokemon Crystal? It's probably not what you're thinking. Every time we enter a battle against either a wild Pokemon or a trainer, the trainer slides in from right to left. What's dumb is for some weird reason, when the boy does this, it lags by 1 frame every time. Now, 1 frame of lag in a 60 frames per second game doesn't sound like a lot of time loss until you realize that there are 112 fights in the speedrun. Meaning, by playing as the boy, you will lose 112 frames or 1.87 seconds in the speedrun. But the most common reason why speedrunners pick the girl in the first place is actually due to your next door neighbor. These characters that you see on screen are the player characters that you can choose from, but the one you don't choose will be a character that you interact with throughout the game. For Diamond, Pearl, Platinum and its remakes, Dawn or Lucas will be the professor's assistant. The only thing that they really do in this speedrun is talk to you about stuff, but how long they talk to you is the reason why girl is picked over boy. For some reason, Dawn always has a few extra characters in her dialogue boxes that we have to press through compared to Lucas, making her just a tad bit slower to talk to compared to Lucas. While this only shows the early game, you can see how much faster going into Rival 1 is playing as the girl over the boy. This applies to almost every encounter with Dawn and Lucas, so it's much faster to play as the girl in Diamond, Pearl and Platinum. Should mention that while it is still faster to play as the girl in the remakes, due to the much faster text speed, the differences is not as near noticeable. But the most famous example of why the girl is picked over the boy is in HeartGold and SoulSilver. During the catching tutorial, Lyra has this extra cutscene, I guess, that happens before you start the battle. Ethan does not have this cutscene, which makes playing as the girl save you 11 seconds. But these are games that even if you pick boy, you can still finish a run. Yeah, losing time does suck, but at least finishing a run is still better than an unfinished run. But what if picking the girl is the reason a run can finish at all? X, Y, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and their remakes are all games where, similar to the previous section, have a character that you can interact with depending on if you pick boy or girl. But here's the catch. These characters aren't just Professor's assistants, but rather your rival, which means you will have to fight them multiple times throughout the speedrun. And leave it to Game Freak to give subtle differences between both of them. To have a clear understanding, let's look at one of Sapphire's most infamous fights in the speedrun, Rival 2. Rival 2 is the second rival fight that happens in Route 110. The main strategy for this fight is to set up 3 X attacks, 1 X speed, heal to full, then take out the first Pokemon. Then Grovyle comes in. Grovyle will outspeed our Marshtomp and use Absorb to deal massive damage to us. We will respond with a Mud Shot, which not only 2-hit KOs, but also reduces Grovyle's speed by 1 stage, allowing us to outspeed and KO Grovyle with another one. Accuracy not pending.
We have died.
Then KO the final Pokemon. You might have noticed that I said first Pokemon and final Pokemon. And that's for a good reason. Both May and Brendan have the same team here, being Numel, Grovyle, and Wailmer. But depending on who you are fighting, the lead Pokemon will be different, with May leading Wailmer and Brendan leading Numel. Now, both Pokemon are scary as both of them have the move Growl, which if they ever use that move, the fight is over and you must reset and try again because you don't have enough X attacks. In fact, the reason why speedrunners start the fight not at full HP is so that we can manipulate the AI to not use Growl. But Numel is far better for us to set up as we take significantly less damage from Numel's tackle than we do from Wailmer's water gun. Hence, playing as the girl is far better in Sapphire. And we can see a similar thing happen in Emerald's version of Rival 2. The strategy is also very similar. Use 2 X attacks, an X speed, heal to full, then sweep. But the difference between Sapphire and Emerald is the Pokemon the rival uses, exchanging Numel and Wailmer for Slugma and Wingull, with May leading Wingull and Brendan leading with Slugma. But the reason why Slugma is a better lead than Wingull is for a completely different reason. Remember when I said if you ever get growled, your speedrun's over? Well, Wingull has Growl, but Slugma does not. This makes Slugma a far better setup Pokemon compared to Wingull due to that extra consistency, hence why speedrunners play as May. As for the remakes, while May is still preferred, it's not for the same reasons, as both May and Brendan both send out the same Pokemon in the same way. But there is a minor but significant difference between them. While the moves, abilities, and order are the same, their stats are not. More specifically, their natures are different between the two rivals. The main Pokemon that this applies to is Grovyle. May's Grovyle is a neutral nature, but Brendan's Grovyle is Rash nature, which gives Grovyle a 10% boost in special attack, but a 10% reduction in special defense. That's helpful because the strat used in this fight is completely different from the original. Instead of using X attacks and mud shots, we use 3 to 4 X specials, 2 X speeds, and spam Echoed Voice, a special move that gets more powerful if used consecutively. Thanks to the minus special defense, this fight is way better to be against Brendan than against May. The final game to talk about now is X and Y, and similar to Oras, the difference between Callum and Serena as rivals is not their team composition or order of Pokemon, but rather the stats on each individual Pokemon. And I guess gender as well. While we do fight Callum and Serena 5 times throughout the speedrun, the only fight that this truly matters is Rival 2. Rival 2? Why is it always Rival 2 the most awkward fight in every single game? Before we answer why, we need to understand how this fight works in a speedrun setting. We send out Hawlucha against our rival's Meowstic. We use an X attack turn 1 hoping to see either Fake Out or Light Screen. Then, on the next turn, we use Encore to trap Meowstic for 3 turns using that move. We then have a free setup of using 1 to 2 Swords Dances before sweeping their entire team. There is just one small problem. This strat does not work if Hawlucha is slower than Meowstic. This is because Encore forces Meowstic to use its last used move. If Meowstic is faster, it will use a different move, and if it uses one of its attacking moves, we're in trouble. So how do we make it more consistent that our Hawlucha, who has random stats by the way, outspeed Meowstic? By playing as the girl, of course. Serena's Meowstic has whatever nature, it doesn't really matter. But Callum's Meowstic has a brave nature. A 10% boost to attack, but a 10% reduction to speed, making almost every Hawlucha faster than Meowstic, thus making this fight far more consistent. Well, that's every single game where the girl is faster than the boy, but you might have noticed that I didn't cover every single game. Plot twist. Surprisingly, there are a few games where the boy is faster than the girl, but don't get your hopes too high. The first game is Legends Arceus. Despite in the Sinnoh games where Lucas talks less than Dawn, for some reason, their ancestors were flipped, where Ray actually talks a little more than Akari. Despite this, for Legends Arceus Go Valkyrie has every world record in this game, playing as the girl. So I guess personal preferences is better than time save. But a game where the boy is absolutely played for its time save is Sun, Moon, and the Ultra games. And you can blame Lillie for that one. During the plethora of tutorials in this game, in front of the apparel shop, Lillie gives you a useless item. If you play as the boy. If you play as the girl, she gives you 2. This saves 3-ish seconds. That might not sound like a lot, but consider this. This is the world record time for Sun and Moon. And this is second place.
10, 9, 8, I don't think this is it. Oh, you are shitting me!
Literally 1 second apart from each other. So yeah, every second counts. The last few games are very simple. What about Red and Blue? What about Gold and Silver? What about Colosseum and XD? Well, the answer is the boy. Why? Because you don't have a choice.